Hello and welcome back to our unit on weather. Today we're going to talk about our topic is fronts and high and low pressure. It's day 4 of 4, our last day. Today you'll know the difference between a cold and a warm front. Okay. You will understand the difference between a high and low pressure systems. And you will know how wind flows from high pressure to low pressure. All right. So for your quick write, okay. If a warm air mass meets a cold air mass, which one is lighter? Which one is heavier? If warmer air can hold more water, or water vapor, right, as a gas, what type of air mass do you think creates more rain? Cold or warm air masses? Okay, go ahead and pause this if you need more time. For 5 points, please complete your quick write. Okay, so how air moves. Little review here. If you recall, the sun drives our winds due to the uneven heating of Earth. This unequal heating creates our global wind patterns, the trade winds, westerlies, etc. Okay. Remember, hot equatorial air moves to the cold poles by convection, resulting in our wind. But then the Coriolis effect causes our wind to curve and spin. Okay, and this is one way we get our wind, this unequal heating of the Earth. But air also moves as a result of pressure differences in our atmosphere. So, how air moves. Air flows from high pressure to low pressure. If you ever roll down your windows, okay, and the air rushes in, that's essentially the same thing, okay? It's a pressure difference. So air flows from high to low pressure, okay? So as you roll down your windows, air is flowing in. So during high pressure, air sinks. And during low pressure, air rises, okay? So during low pressure, okay, air is rising here, and it spins. As it rises, it spins counterclockwise, okay, creating cloudy, stormy weather, okay? Think of a tornado here, okay? So a tornado is essentially an extreme low pressure system where air is rising like a funnel cloud, okay? It's rising up, and it's spinning, you guessed it, counterclockwise, okay? Same thing with a hurricane, any low pressure system. Typhoon, they all spin counterclockwise as air rises. Okay? High pressure. As air sinks, though, it spins clockwise, and as a result, we get sunny, clear weather. Okay? So the exact opposite. So air is coming down on your head, giving it more air pressure. Okay? So we'll skip that. So look in the U.S. here. Here's a typical weather map you might see like on a weather, if you're watching the weather from the news. Where is high pressure? Sunny weather. Okay. Parts of California, maybe Texas, East Coast. Okay. And then where is low pressure? You guessed it, right where the cloudy weather is. Okay. These are areas, the low pressure is areas where air is rising. And then the air is sinking, going to the high pressure, creating wind, and coming down where it's high pressure. So air is rising at low pressure and then sinking where there's high pressure, creating sunny weather. Okay, so here's a typical summer weather pattern. We are dominated by mostly high pressure, sunny weather. Okay, but look at the East Coast. That is a low pressure. Okay, and there's these fronts we're going to talk about here in a second. Okay, so those lines are what we call isobars, lines of equal pressure, air pressure. Okay. So high versus low. Let's look at the high and the low pressure systems here. High pressure, air is sinking, and low pressure, air is rising. Okay. So sunny weather over here, cloudy weather over here. But notice we have these fronts here. What's going on over here? Well, we're going to investigate that a little bit more in depth here. So high and low pressure systems. That's essentially how air is moving. Remember though, air is moving from high to low pressure. So the wind is moving this way across the United States. High wind is flowing to low pressure and then going up. Okay? So during high pressure, air spins clockwise as it sinks. Okay? And during low pressure, air spins counterclockwise as it sinks. Okay? So for your notes, right, what's the difference between high and low pressure? That's your question. Okay, question on the left-hand side, answer on the right-hand side. Draw this table, please, and use the answer bank to determine which word best completes the sentence. Go ahead and pause this while you write. I'm going to move on. Okay. Air masses. When air doesn't move, it starts to take on a characteristic temperature and humidity for that region. An air mass is a large body of air through which temperature, okay, is it hot or cold, and moisture, is it wet or dry, the moisture content are similar. Okay, so air over the ocean is what we call maritime. It's cold and humid. Okay, so air masses form over the ocean. Maritime air masses form over the ocean. They're cold and humid. Okay, tropical air masses form over the ocean, but they're from the tropical regions. Okay, and they're warm and humid. And then finally, we have polar continental air masses that form over land. These are cold and dry. And then we have tropical continental. These form over Mexico. Okay, these tropical continental, they're dry because they form over land. Okay, but they're warm because they're coming from the equator. Okay, so these are different air masses. Once again, maritime form over the ocean, cold and wet. Polar continental, cold and dry. Tropical, okay, warm and humid. And then tropical continental, warm and dry. Okay, so for your notes, what is an air mass? Okay, question on the left-hand side, answer on the right-hand side. Use the answer bank to determine which words best complete the sentence. Okay, go ahead and pause this while you write. I'm going to move on here. All right, fronts. When two air masses meet, they don't mix, at least for a while. Okay, they form fronts. So these two air masses kind of battle it out. Because they have different temperature and densities, they don't mix, okay? So a cold air mass is dense and does not mix with a warm air mass, okay? Because cold air is essentially, think of it as more heavier, okay? And the air molecules are closer together. Warm air mass, they're spread out, okay? And it's less dense, lighter. So there are two types of fronts we're going to look at. There's actually a couple more, but the main types are cold front and warm front, and these greatly influence our weather over the United States. Okay, so these are fronts. When a cold air mass overtakes, a warm air mass, a cold front forms. So here a cold air mass is pushing through warm air, forcing it up. And what happens when air rises? You guessed it, clouds form. And in this case, we have what's called cumulus clouds. Okay? So the moving heavier cold air lifts the warm air. If the air is moist, clouds will form. Large cumulus clouds and cumulonimbus clouds, which are the stormy kind of cumulus clouds, form along cold fronts. Any good weatherman will say, hey, look at those cumulus clouds. That is where the cold front's coming through. Okay? So a cold front, if we define it, is the boundary where cold air pushes warm air out of the way and brings colder weather and cumulus clouds. Okay, so it's identified with a blue line and these blue teeth. Colder air over here, right? Warmer air over here on a weather map. Okay, so the colder air is pushing the warmer air up. Look at right here. Okay, here's a cold front, large cumulus clouds with those flat bases. So cold air, and warm air being pushed up. Okay, and there you have it, cold front. The last type is a warm front. When a storm typically moves over California and the rest of the United States, what arrives first is the warm front. Okay, so when a cold air mass retreats from an area, a warm front forms. This warmer, lighter, less dense air rises over cooler air. So in this case, look at warm air here is pushing over the back of cold air and coming up top of it. It's catching up to it and it's rising up over cold air. And you guessed it, as air rises, clouds form. They hit that dew point temperature. So a warm front can cause rain and even severe thunderstorms. Notice the slope here. A warm front is identified by a gradual slope, not as steep. So a warm front has a gradual slope with clouds that form as the warm air rises along the front. Like I said, they cause rain and thunderstorms. So if we define it, a warm front is defined as the area or zone where a warm air mass is replacing a cold air mass. That is, it's moving over the top of it. So on the weather map, we have a red line with these half circles here, with colder air over here, warmer temperatures over here. So you could see a big transition here between the warm air overtaking the cold air. All right, so look at the warm front. Here, cold air is pushing warm air out of the way, and here is our warm front, as warm air moves over the top of cold air. Okay. So high versus low. We showed this earlier. Okay. But let's take a look now here from A to B. Let's say you were to drive from A to B. What would happen here? You're driving through a cold front and a warm front. What kind of weather would you experience? Well, okay, if you were to drive from A to B, let's look at it, a cross section here. Okay, you drive from A to B. What kind of weather would you experience? Well, okay, let's examine this. A to B here, right? Here's your car. It'd be cold. You would see cumulonimbus clouds here, rain, okay? And then you'd get that warm air, and then you'd get that cold front, okay, with stratus clouds over here, okay? So you'd see cumulonimbus clouds, and it would kind of warm up. And then you see these stratus clouds with lots of rain, moderate to light showers, okay, to heavy showers, okay? And look at the direction of storm movement. So you can see these fronts move, okay, with the low pressure system. All right. So practice on your notes if you can. This is the diagram that will be on your test. So take a moment to quiz yourself if you can, and know where each object is located here. Okay, you don't have to write anything down, but I would suggest you take a moment to think about this. Go ahead and pause this if you want to get some practice here. I'm going to move on here. Okay. So for your notes, what is the difference between cold front and a warm front? Okay. Question on the left-hand side, as always. Answer on the right-hand side, as always. Use the answer bank to determine which words best complete the sentence. Go ahead and pause this while you write. Last one, I believe, for today. Okay. So go ahead and pause this. I'm going to move on. All right. Summarize. I would like you to draw a picture here. Draw this wonderful picture. Like I said, this diagram is going to be on your test. Okay, so summarize. Use the answer bank to determine, okay, what these blanks are. The answers are over here in case you ever need help. Okay, so go ahead and complete your summary for an easy 20 points, and we'll see you next time. Go ahead and pause this, please.